You meet someone, you look them in the eyes, you shake their hand, you smile as they introduce themselves, and seconds later, their name is gone. Not faded, not blurry, gone. But their face, you could recognize it years later. The shape of their eyes, the curve of their smile, the way their head tilted when they spoke. You remember their expression, their presence, their energy, just not their name. And at some point, you probably asked yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do I remember faces but forget names? Does this make me rude, distracted, slow? Let's clear something up immediately. Forgetting names is not a sign of low intelligence. It is not rudeness. It is not a weak memory. In many cases, it's actually a sign of a brain wired for deeper perception. Your mind didn't fail. It prioritized. And neuroscience, cognitive psychology, and depth psychology all point to the same truth. If you forget names but remember faces, your brain may be optimized for human perception, emotional intelligence, and visual memory, not verbal labeling. This is not a flaw. It's a cognitive specialization. Let's explore why. 1. Faces are biologically more important than names. From an evolutionary perspective, faces matter more than names. Long before written language existed, humans survived by recognizing who belonged to their tribe, who could be trusted, who posed a threat, who carried emotional meaning. Your brain evolved to remember faces, expressions, and identity markers, not abstract sound labels. A name is a social invention. A face is a biological survival cue. Your mind treats faces as identity signals, emotional maps, safety indicators, social memory anchors. So when you remember faces but forget names, your brain is simply doing what it evolved to do best. Recognize humans, not labels. 2. Faces activate stronger brain networks than names. Neuroscience shows that faces activate specialized regions in the brain, including the fusiform face area, FFA, responsible for facial recognition, the amygdala, which processes emotional meaning, the visual cortex, which stores image-based memory names, on the other hand, rely mostly on verbal memory, linguistic processing, short-term working memory. Visual memory is often stronger, richer, and more durable than verbal memory. So if your brain stores images more efficiently than words, it will naturally remember how someone looks, where you saw them, their expressions, their posture, but not necessarily the sound of their name. This doesn't mean your memory is weak. It means your memory is visually dominant. 3. Faces carry emotion names. Usually memory strengthens when emotion is involved. Faces carry emotional meaning. Micro-expressions, eye contact, mood, personality cues, emotional energy. Names, in most situations, are emotionally neutral. Your brain tends to remember how someone made you feel, whether they felt warm or cold, whether they felt safe or intimidating. But if a name has no emotional attachment, your brain treats it as low priority. You don't remember words. You remember feelings, impressions, and experiences. 4. You process people as humans, not as labels. Some minds categorize people like files: name, occupation, role category. Other minds categorize people like stories: their energy, their personality, their emotional tone, their essence. If you forget names but remember faces, your mind likely stores people as the thoughtful one, the intense one, the calm one, the person who made me feel understood. You don't remember the tag. You remember the person. This often means you process humans at a deeper, emotional and intuitive level than average. 5. Visual thinkers remember images better than words. Many people who remember faces better than names are visual thinkers, and they think in images, scenes, snapshots, mental movies. A face becomes a mental picture. A name becomes just a floating sound. And images stick far more strongly in memory than sounds. If you can visualize a person clearly but struggle to recall their name, your brain may be optimized for spatial memory, visual recall, scene recognition, facial mapping. This is a strength, not a weakness. 6. Social pressure can block name memory but not face memory. When meeting new people, many people experience subtle anxiety. Am I making a good impression? Do I sound confident? Did I say something awkward? This anxiety consumes working memory, the same memory needed to store names. But face recognition happens more automatically without conscious effort. So, anxiety interferes with remembering names. But facial memory remains intact. You're not forgetting names because you don't care. You're forgetting names because your mind is busy managing social awareness and self-monitoring. 7. Faces are stored as identity, names are stored as data. Your brain stores faces as identity anchors, names as verbal data. Identity memory is deeper and longer lasting than verbal memory. You might forget someone's name, their job title, their exact words, but still remember who they are, how they felt, how they looked, the emotional memory tied to them. Your mind remembers the person, not the label attached to them. 8. People with high empathy. Remember faces. Better research suggests that people who are emotionally perceptive, empathetic, socially aware, intuitive, tend to focus on facial expressions, eye contact, emotional tone, nonverbal signals. They are reading emotional meaning, not memorizing words. So their memory favors check marks, faces, check marks, expressions, check marks, emotional cues, over, X marks, names, X marks, titles, X marks, verbal tags. If you forget names but remember faces, you may actually be more emotionally intelligent than average. 9. Faces feel real. Names feel abstract. A face feels like a real human presence. A name feels like a symbol. Some minds attach memory to what feels concrete and real, not what feels abstract. You remember what you can see, what you can feel, what feels alive, and a face feels more alive than a spoken name. 11. Forgetting. Names does not mean you're forgetting people. If you forget someone's name, but remember their story, their personality, their emotional tone, the way they made you feel, then you are not forgetful. You are remembering people at a deeper psychological level than surface details. You don't forget people. You forget labels. 16. People who forget names often think in meaning, not categories. Some people think in rigid categories: names, titles, labels, roles. Others think in meaning, patterns, and relationships. If you forget names, you may be someone who naturally thinks, who is this person really? What do they represent emotionally? How do they fit into the social dynamic? What is their psychological tone? Your mind is not focused on labeling people. It is focused on understanding them. This is often found in deep thinkers, philosophical minds, highly reflective people, Jungian-type psychological personalities. 17. Your brain may be wired for depth over speed. Remembering names quickly often requires surface-level processing, but remembering faces deeply requires depth processing. If your mind processes information slowly but deeply, you may forget names, but understand people profoundly, miss labels, but perceive motivations, lose words, but remember meaning. This is not cognitive weakness. It is a depth-oriented intelligence. 21. Forgetting names can be a sign of emotional presence. When talking to someone, some people focus on memorizing facts, storing names, managing social performance. Others focus on listening deeply, feeling the emotional tone, being present in the moment, observing subtle signals. If you forget names, it might be because you were fully present, not mentally rehearsing labels. You chose connection over storage. 23. People who forget names often have strong intuition. Intuitive people focus on patterns, vibes, emotional undercurrents, psychological signals. They sense when someone is hiding something, when someone feels genuine, when someone's energy shifts. Their memory prioritizes intuitive recognition, not verbal detail. So they remember faces because faces carry intuition. 25. Forgetting. Names is often linked to high self-awareness. People who are highly self-aware may monitor their own behavior, observe social dynamics, reflect on conversations, analyze emotional meaning. This consumes cognitive resources, leaving less space for storing names. Your mind was not distracted. It was thinking deeply. 29. The core truth. You remember people, not labels. If you forget names but remember faces, what this really means is you remember humans, not words. You remember meaning, not tags. You remember essence, not labels. And in a world obsessed with surface-level details, that may be a rare psychological gift. So the next time you forget someone's name, don't feel embarrassed. Ask yourself instead, what did I remember about them that matters more than a name? Their expression, their warmth, their presence, the way they made you feel, because names fade. But how someone feels and who they truly are lasts far longer. And if your mind remembers faces instead of names, it might not be a weakness. It might be the sign of a brain designed for depth, perception, emotional intelligence, and human understanding.